Noah is an 18-year-old girl living alone in Florida. Her mom left her when she was just a little girl to find a better life abroad. She's been invited to come and live a better life with them, and as she starts to pack up with her best friend, Noah's boyfriend Dan, shows up and asks her if that's what she really wants regarding their relationship. Although he thinks they can still love each other regardless of the distance, after a goodbye kiss, Noah flies to London, where she meets her mom, who's now married to a rich black man who's happy to see her. Later, while looking around, she sees a handsome young man swimming with his friends. As they catch each other's glance, Noah's mom interrupts the moment by telling her to settle down, as they'll be heading out that evening for the family's special event. At the event, Nick takes pictures like a celebrity as Noah watches him and keeps wondering what's his status. Nick sits among some wealthy individuals and Noah notices this. One of Nick's friends sees her looming gaze and calls her aside to tell her a short story about Nick, as he explains that Nick isn't just a spoiled daddy's boy. Rather, he's a hustler who made his first million by selling a dating app at the age of 17. Right now, he's just living his best life under his parents' roof. After the event, Nick decides to take her back home following his dad's instructions to take care of her. On their way, Noah apologizes for her assumptions of him being a spoiled daddy's boy, flaunting dad's wealth. Nick only laughs it off and tells her not to always judge people by just mere appearance, but she doesn't stop and calls him a mommy's boy instead. This vexes Nick and he drops her off on the roadside, not minding her when she begs him not to be so wicked. A few minutes later, one of Nick's friends comes to pick her up and mentions that Nick was in a nightclub nearby, so Noah quickly tells him to take her there. Arriving at the party, she's offered a drink by a guy known as Tom. She then finds Nick dancing with some girls and pours the drink on him for leaving her on the roadside. Feeling lonely and alone, she ends up drinking the whole bottle. Nick finds her drunk, so he goes straight to the guy that gave her the drink earlier and punches a hole in his face, then drives Noah home. He takes her to bed and finds a nasty scar on her body. In the morning, Noah is still angry with him about last night, so she threatens to reveal his nighttime activities to their parents, but he begs her not to, and for now, they need to stay out of each other's business. Following this, she checks his social to find that Nick is quite famous. Feeling bored, she looks around the house and enters Nick's room and looks around at his exotic inventories. While checking out one of his jackets, Nick sees her but finds it quite amusing, and since she's his stepsister, he doesn't complain but instead invites her to come with him to a party that evening, but she refuses to go anywhere with him. She goes back to her room and gets a text message that shows her boyfriend kissing her best friend. With tears in her eyes, she joins Nick as he's about heading out. Because of his car, Noah thinks he's a track racer, but Nick explains that it's just for car meets and drifts. Getting to the tunnel, Nick goes to his friends while Noah looks around for some new friends. She finds a girl casually sitting on her car, and after checking the car's make, the girl finds her interesting and she introduces herself as Jenna. As the party begins and everyone dances, Nick sees Noah dancing with a stranger and pulls her away, revealing that he knows she wants to take her mind off the video her boyfriend showed her earlier. He then leans forward to kiss her and takes a picture of both of them, telling her to send it to her boyfriend as a clapback. At that moment, a mysterious character shows up, and Jenna explains to Noah that the guy's name is Ronnie. Since they were young, he's always wanted to fight Nick because he sees him as daddy's spoiled little boy and wants to teach him what it means to come from the streets. He's just out of prison and challenges Nick to a race, even though it's illegal since the underground was built for only car meets and drifts. Nick accepts the challenge, and as everyone begins to place their bets, Jenna reveals that Nick has never raced in his life and was sure he's going to lose. Nick isn't paying attention as he's collecting some bet money. Noah quickly enters the race car and the race is called to begin. It wasn't after they went several miles that Nick realizes that it's his stepsister who took his car. Some distance ahead of Ronnie, Noah begins to show off as they are about to get to the finish line. Ronnie sees that he's about to lose to a lady, so he decides to play dirty by hitting her car from behind, and Noah manages to balance the wheel and ends up winning the race. Ronnie is furious at Nick for allowing a lady to race him and also for breaking his friend's nose at the club. Noah says he deserved it, and Ronnie tries to hit Noah, but Nick gets in the way and gets punched instead. A brawl starts, and at that moment, the police siren can be heard from a distance and everyone rushes to leave the place. Ronnie promises that, since he didn't race him, they will settle this fight in a ring, without gloves or protective gears. At home, Noah notices the spiral tattoo on Nick's arm, saying it looks like the one she has on the back of her neck, which Nick already saw last night while she was drunk. Noah begs him not to get violent or fight Ronnie, as this causes her to panic following the fact that her father was also violent. As she prepares to go to bed, she sends Dan the picture of her kissing Nick, and in the morning she's happy to see Dan calling already but doesn't pick up, knowing that right now Dan is jealous. During breakfast, the duo can't help but keep smiling at each other. Nick wants to go see Maddie and his dad tells him to take Noah with him. Nick meets her outside and gives her the car keys to drive, using the opportunity to show off. Arriving at the place, Noah begins to have a sense of jealousy as she thinks Maddie he's talking about is his girlfriend. But it turns out that wasn't the case, as it is just his little sister who's Maddie. He later explains that his mom left when he was just 12 due to her drinking problem. He points out that his deal with his mom was to stay out of trouble if he wanted to continue seeing the most important woman in his life, which is his little sister. Noah gets a little bit jealous and asks about the girl he went with at the event, and he points out that she's just a friend. Nick and his mom argue after seeing the cut on his face, while Maddie isn't happy about it because now her mom won't allow Nick to come to her football game. That evening, while Nick and Noah have a conversation, the chemistry between them becomes so strong that they lean forward to kiss each other, only to be interrupted by the call of little Maddie. The next morning, before they return home, Nick's mom begs him to stay out of fights if he wants to continue seeing his younger sister, and he reluctantly agrees. At home, Noah hears a noise and grabs an object to defend herself, thinking it might be a burglar, only to find out that her boyfriend, Dan, has traveled all the way from Florida to visit her. Her mom reveals that this was her surprise package, which clearly Noah isn't happy about. She tells him to go away, but he begs for her forgiveness, telling her that the video she saw of him kissing her best friend was a mistake. He tries to kiss her, but she shrugs him off and allows him to stay only as a friend. In the morning, Dan tries again to persuade Noah to get back together, but at that moment, Nick walks in on them and looks at Dan with utmost disgust, not minding his hand when he proposes to shake, grabbing a cup of coffee and leaving immediately. After leaving, Dan insults Nick and immediately recalls that he's the guy from the picture Noah sent to him, which makes Noah smile. Next, she goes to Nick's room, locks the door behind, and tells Nick to kiss parts of her body. Afterwards, she tells him to make Dan go away and then immediately walks out of the room. Nick finds Dan looking for Noah and tells him he's offering him $1,000 to go back to Florida and never come back. Dan doesn't think much and tells him to make it $1,500. That evening, as Dan is about to leave, he tries insulting Noah by saying she's just like her mother, and Nick punches his face and tells him he will send him another $10,000 so he doesn't even think about Noah again. Nick meets with Noah at a bonfire, where they take turns burning Dan's remaining clothes. Noah gets a text from Dan saying he received $20,000 just from Nick to leave her, making her to realize that her boyfriend never loved her. Noah goes to the fight club where Nick is supposed to fight Ronnie. During the fight, at first, Ronnie seems to have the upper hand, but Nick quickly regains his momentum and starts to land several punches on Ronnie before knocking him down. Noah can't stand the violence and leaves. Nick begins to look around for her but can't find her, so he decides to leave the fight. His best friend tells him not to leave the fight because he's bet so much on him, but Nick ignores him and goes out to look for Noah. Ronnie regains his senses and starts to call Nick to continue the fight, but Nick ignores everyone and goes outside. He's kicked by Ronnie, and the key to his car falls to the ground. One of Ronnie's men picks it up, and Ronnie takes his car as compensation for the race he lost, threatening him with a knife that they'd still fight, and if he doesn't agree to it, he's coming for his friends and family. It's Nick's birthday today, and his dad tells him they can spend a weekend at a fancy beach to celebrate it. Nick asks if Noah could come, which both parents agree to. Just as Noah is sitting by the poolside, Nick joins her, and they begin to play with each other, only to be interrupted by Noah's mom, who doesn't know what's going on between them. For his birthday, Noah takes him to a racetrack where they race just to blow off steam. After the race, they stop at a store to get some rubbers, only to get attacked by some guys in masks smashing their car. Nick is able to escape, and later it is revealed that the attackers were none other than Ronnie and his henchmen, alongside a mysterious old man. During his birthday celebrations at the beach, his best friend is curious and asks about his relationship with his stepsister. He confesses that he's in love with her but can't make it known to anyone or their parents because it could destroy them. He begs his friend to help keep it a secret. As they party all night, Nick approaches his friend and tells him that he doesn't want to fight Ronnie, as he's tired of his pestilence. But his friend begs him to at least fight him one more time since he lost a huge sum of money. This time, he has to let Ronnie win so he can get him off his back, and Nick agrees. Nick finds a guy trying to force his way onto Noah, and when Nick sees this, he goes straight in and punches the guy, causing them to be thrown out of the party. Noah doesn't like it when he's violent and calls him out for it. He ends up grabbing her, and she tells him maybe they need to take a break from what they are doing. In the next few days, they try to avoid each other and stay out of each other's way as much as possible, although this is hard for both of them. At a party, Jenna tells Noah not to be hard on him, saying he only did what he did because he cares. Meanwhile, one of Nick's jealous crushes can't stand the sight of Noah. With this, she makes a plan with her friend to lock Noah up in a room and leaves her there. Later, Nick arrives at the party looking for Noah, and the crush tries to talk to him, but then he reveals that he just realized he can't even stand her. After looking around, he's able to find Noah, who's already in a state of panic, as this brings back memories from her past experience with her dad. Sitting at the poolside, Noah shares her traumatic past with Nick, who promises to protect her. As the conversation progresses, both of them get really into each other and end up having sex. The following days are now filled with intense intimate moments between the step-siblings, not minding if their parents would find out about their affairs. One evening, a car alarm goes off, and Ryan is found badly injured and tied up in Nick's car. Sensing that their house is not secure anymore, William makes arrangements for the ladies to spend the week in a hotel while they figure out what happened. Nick explains to the detective and his dad that this is the doing of Ronnie, as he was the one who took his car and promises to come for his family. Although that is the case, his dad reveals that Noah's dad just got out of prison and might be working together with Ronnie. Nick recalls seeing him in his fight against Ronnie and also at the petrol station. William thinks he's doing all this because he wants money. Nick quickly realizes that all this time, they've been trying to separate him from Noah so they can easily capture her. At that moment, at the hotel, Noah gets into an elevator. Suddenly, Ronnie joins her and takes her to her father, Travis, who has been waiting for her. A few minutes later, Noah is declared missing across the country. William gets a call from Travis, who demands a sum of $1 million to be wired to an account if he wants to see his stepdaughter alive. Nick gets to his car and breaks down. But at that moment he realizes that Ronnie took his car, which has a GPS tracker on it, so he immediately heads to the location and calls his dad, telling him to give the police the coordinates he's about to send him. Noah is chair-bound when Ronnie meets with her to address his anger issues towards Nick and tells her he intends to kill Nick. Soon after, Nick is seen driving towards them. Realizing that their position has been compromised, Travis decides to take Noah to another location and offers Ronnie a gun, but he prefers a knife fight. Nick sneaks around but gets caught up with Ronnie and attacks him from behind. Nick manages to dodge his attacks, causing him to drop the knife. However, Ronnie is able to grab the knife again and stabs Nick with it, but misses his vital organs. He starts talking about how all this is his fault if only he had acknowledged his superiority over him. Nick catches him off guard as he grabs a pipe and smashes it on Ronnie. He tries going after Noah, but his dad shoots a warning shot and tells his daughter to drive. Nick immediately gets into his own car and chases after them. While Travis tries to shoot, Nick is bleeding but still keeps driving. He takes a shortcut to block them off. Noah sees this but is too late. She steps on the brake to swerve, but catches up to Nick's car, causing it to flip over. Everyone survives with just some scratches, except for Nick, who's bleeding out already. Travis immediately grabs his daughter as a shield and points his gun at the police, demanding they bring him the money, or else he kills Noah. But she pushes him away and runs towards Nick. A gunshot echoes, but thankfully, it was Travis lying lifeless on the floor as Nick passes out from the sustained injury. 6 weeks later, everyone is back home, happy and celebrating the moment when it starts to rain. Nick grabs Noah and pulls her into the pool while the others run to avoid getting wet. After a moment, both parents start to wonder why they're the only ones left outside, not realizing that the siblings are making out in the pool. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more.